Okay, so I want to pose this question. What is a game? You can kind of think of what a game is, right? You kind of have an idea of, oh, I play this, I play soccer, I play basketball, I play chess, I play checkers. These are all games. We know those are games, but how do we know those are games? Just because they're fun? A lot of things are fun, but what is fun, right? We don't really know what that is. And so that's something that psychologists and cognitive psychology have looked at this and we've said, oh, okay, like we can't really define a game. There's no really set definition for this because a game is not just a set of rules, right? Because games don't have to have rules. Like playing Legos, right? There's no rules to playing Legos. There's nothing that says you can't break the Lego in half if you wanted to. You can, and you could still be having a lot of fun with that. You could burn your Legos, and that could be your game, where you just buy a whole set of Legos and set them on fire. It probably wouldn't be a very good game for the environment, but I don't recommend doing that. But it could be a game. It's still, if you're having fun, it's a game, right? So rules does not define a game. Now, what about goals? What about, okay, like maybe a game is defined by you trying to achieve something. Like maybe when you're playing Legos, you want to build that Lego set into a Millennial Falcon, right? That's the goal. But it doesn't have to have a goal, right? You could just be throwing Legos at your friend and hitting them in the face and laughing, and that could be your game. It's still a game. You're still having fun, right? So fun seems to be the component, but we can't say what fun is. We can't say that fun is rules. We can't say fun is goals. There's no one way to describe what a game is. So then what is a game? And I think that kind of gets to me as a game developer, a larger question of what is the intent behind these things that I'm creating? What is the intent behind the games, the experiences that I'm making? And this ties back to me to a larger philosophical idea that when we play a game, we completely forget who we are. We just become engrossed in that game, right? If you ever see two people playing chess on a chessboard in the corner of a cafe, the rest of that cafe is just, it's out of their mind. It's not in their view. It's just them and the game, and that's it, right? And the possibilities, the intricacies, the ways you can combine the pieces moving around and the little goals that you can achieve in it, but those goals are all self-defined. You're the one making those goals. And that's the beauty of a game. The beauty of a game is not achieving goals. It's not following rules. It's simply being and leaving that ego outside, right? Because in that, playing that game, they are becoming a character within that game, right? So they're losing themselves within it. And that is what makes a game so profound, right? And when I was looking back at the philosophies of early board games, it struck me so much where these games came from, the kind of thinking that drove the reason why people played or created these games. So there's this great article by William Cobb talking about kind of the philosophy of Go. Go is this ancient Chinese board game, right? It was invented, it's even older than chess. And it's literally just white stones, black stones, and all you're doing is trying to capture more territory than your opponent. And it's a turn-based game, so you place a stone, the other person places a stone, you try and surround territory. If you surround the other person's stones, then you can take their stones off the board, you get points for that and points for the territory, right? So that's the basic premise of the game. Beyond that, there's so many different intricacies and patterns and things that you can discover in it, right? And it's also really notable because recently, Google's DeepMind AI beat the world champion of Go, which was thought to be out of the realm of what computer intelligence could do, because there were so many possibilities in the game of Go that it was impossible to calculate every single one. You know, in chess, there are a lot of possibilities. There aren't as many as Go, because in Go, once you capture a piece, you can take it off the board, and that opens up that square, and that square is then available for more pieces to be put down. So that means that the board itself is never, you can always add and take away from it, and an empty square is never really empty because you could always place something in it. And there's exceptions, when there's eyes, and those are a different deal, but I won't go too far into the game of Go. But I wanted to touch a little bit on the philosophy of the game. And this is something that William Cobb really lays out really well. And he said, one plays Go for the same reason people climb mountains, because it is there, and it seems such a waste not to play it. It is the same for life in general. The game of non-attachment is a useful model for a life of non-attachment. If you're curious about what Nirvana is like, learn how to play Go. Let the game swallow you up. And while William Cobb is talking about the game of Go particularly, this is what every game is about. This is what games are about. If you're curious about what Nirvana is like, learn how to play. That's all you need. It can be any game. Learn how to play Go, learn how to play chess, learn how to play StarCraft, learn how to play whatever it is. If you are playing, then you are in it. You are in the process. You are having fun, and you are experiencing life and what life truly is. Now, in the same article, William Cobb also says, the point of playing is clearly understood as not that of winning games, but of exploring the possibilities to be found in particular arrangements of stones. One seeks to create interesting games. And that's what's so amazing, I think, is that the point of the game is really not to win. And that's not what makes it fun. It's not having this end goal that makes the game fun. It's exploring the possibilities and making interesting games. Because you can always beat somebody who's way below your skill level over and over again. But that's never going to be as fun for you as playing somebody who actually gives you a challenge. And then you have an interesting game. And that's what makes games so amazing, is it's about those possibilities. That, in its essence, is what a game is. And that's why we can't define it, right? That's why there's no definition, because we can't say, who am I? There's no definition for that. And we can't say, what is the world we live in? There's no real definition for that. We can make concepts, but that's not the reality. And that's what a game is. Now, jumping up to today, right? Tyler Ninja Blevins is one of the top gamers out there. He was the most streamed Fortnite Twitch player, and still is, one of the most streamed esports players out there. And he has this great book called Get Good, and in it he talks about knowing why you want to get better as a gamer, right? And he says, when it comes to competitive gaming, some reasons for improving are better than others. Talk to any professional gamer and you'll be amazed at how few of them cared about getting rich or famous, at least at first. Great gamers are built upon their love for the games they play, and it's important to always keep that in mind. Just like musicians want to express themselves through their instrument, great gamers express themselves through competition by exploring their games, pushing their limits, and discovering something about themselves in the process. Gaming has taught me so much about myself, and it can do that for you too, if you let it. And this kind of comes back to me about the idea that Bruce Lee had expressed through his philosophy in his life and his way of living, is all knowledge ultimately means self-knowledge. And games, and as a game developer, this is what I keep in mind. This is the intent behind what I create. So I treat game development as a game in of itself. And game over is not when you fail, but when you stop playing. And that's what drives me. And that's what takes away a fear of failure, which is totally imaginary, because failure is something that you create, right? It's not something that exists. So learning to play and living in that play, and play because you can and it's there, and no other reason than that. That is what makes a game, and that is what makes a game developer. And that's my first video of 2020.